you can go above what everyone has a feeling and everyone has their own charm of what their bed and breakfast is. So when you build upon that, you're building upon every element of that, including that of breakfast. So if your taste leads you to a Southern style breakfast, then that's your niche. If your taste leads you to then
Carl, you're really coming in and out. We can't.
on it, and that's your
Carl.
niche. Don't I don't.
I think it's an internet connection issue.
Yeah, Carl,
Yeah.
you're breaking up. We're not really being able to digest what you're saying because you keep cutting in and out.
Hey,
Yeah.
Rose, can I have
Yeah.
a second? Carl, we can hear you. It is broken up like Rose says.
Right.
It appears to me as I'm watching you that if you do lean forward like you did, it'll keep the connectivity going for you. I'm going to make sure that I and everybody else, I hope.
Jim, for some reason, your sound is off now.
Okay, so while Jim's coming back on.
There you go. All right,
Okay.
go ahead. Sorry.
So yes, it was Carl was saying, part of today is breakfast, and certainly, what Carl's trying to say is, there is a theme that you've got to come up with. But like I said, part of this was to not only have tips, of how to make breakfast, but what have you all done during COVID to modify your breakfast? Did it work for you? Did your guests like it? And so I'm just going to open up the floor. Who would like to share what they've been doing with their breakfast?
Well, this is Carolyn.
Hi, Carolyn.
What we do is we've always had a sheet for them to write down what time they'd like breakfast and some preferences, and ask them again about their allergies. But now we have a very, very large dining room, but we have planned it so that there's only 3 couples at a time in the dining room, and half-hour increments. And then we have a table in our large living room, and we have a table in another common area. So if we get more people that want to, for one particular time, we really space them out. If people ask, we'll have them, if people want to eat in their rooms, we have them come and pick up trays to take to their room rather than, because we're very busy, rather than, deliver to the room. But if they let us know that they want to eat in their room, we prepare a tray. In terms of the content of the breakfast, it's as it always was, a gourmet breakfast with fruit, some type of a fruit dish, some type of a bread dish, the main course, and selection of beverages. So that part, the food part, has not changed. How we space people out has changed.
Okay.
And we serve refreshments in the afternoon, and we've individually wrapped and bagged those. We still put them all out, but they're all individually wrapped.
Now, do you think people have liked that?
We get lots of comments. We've actually gotten comments on, the review sites that have complimented us on the way we've approached COVID and said that they feel very safe.
Okay.
We do with our servers, we try to preset stuff, so we try to protect our staff a little bit, because we have someone in the kitchen cooking, and we plate the food and then the server brings it out. But we try to create, like, ahead of time. We ask them ahead of time what juices they want, so we preset the juice at the appointed time. We put a coffee carafe on the table. So we're trying to do it both ways to give our staff some protection as well.
Good.
And they have to wear a mask in common areas. Obviously, you can't wear a mask when you're eating.
So Carolyn, I have a question for you. Do you see yourself maintaining these new policies that you have set up because of COVID, or do you see yourself going back to the way it was.
Well, we've always let them pick their breakfast time. We can accommodate probably 8 couples at a time, 8 to 10 couples at a time in our dining room. So until we're through, I don't expect that we're going to go back to full occupancy in the dining room and until the numbers are really down. But when we do go back, letting them, I mean, we've always let them pick their breakfast times. We'll continue to do that. The packaging of the refreshments, other than the fact that they seem to be making a lot more, we might continue with that. The perhaps some coffee and pre-setting. Sometimes we serve a warm fruit, so that has to come at the last minute. So I think we'll, the things that have made life easier for us, we'll probably continue to do. And it's been interesting. There have been some, it hasn't been all bad. There have been some things that we go, golly, I wonder why I didn't think of this before.
Right. Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Am I coming in any better?
Yes.
Okay, I just
Anybody else? Any tips on things that you've used to help make different things? Joe, you want to contribute? I know you're our scone guy. You want to talk a little bit about how you've used the scones and how your guests have responded to them?
The scones were a bit of a surprise. I learned about them through Deb Anderson, who does Victorian scones out of Indiana, and met up with her at the trade show in Baltimore, probably back in 2006 or 2007. And my wife Laura took the Facebook course and I took the scone course, thinking, what's the worst that could happen? And realized how fast and easy it was to make a batch of scones and just mix them in with the breakfast menu items back when I started doing this. And it turns out surprisingly to be a big hit. I had a lot of repeat guests that were always the first question out of their mouth in the door was what type of scones are you serving this weekend? So, but it was quick. It took me more time to clean up after I made a batch than it was to prepare them and put them on the table. So it worked out well. And you can take a basic scone mix from her inventory and add whatever you can come up with to add to the mix, and it works out great. So we did a lot of different types of scones, and it was always a good complement to the rest of the breakfast items. And it always, like I said, was always a hit with my crowd.
Yeah,
Can you share with us?
I was going to say, this is Becky. Joe made those scones for the conference, the last one we had in, and I actually have been using them ever since, and everybody loves them. And the great thing is you can make them up and freeze them. And so the morning you have scones, you can just take out however many you need and pop them in the oven, and 12 minutes later you have scones.
Yeah,
It's awesome.
Yeah,
I do that as well.
They
Y'all
do.
know she lost her husband in this year, Deb?
Just a couple of months ago, she did,
Yeah,
yes.
she did, yeah.
But she also, for those of you who are not familiar with Deb Anderson, she is the owner of Victoria House Scones. The website is victorianhousescones.com. Debbie is a partner of Pabby. She has, via Joe, she's been very kind and supportive of our organization, donating mix for Joe to, demonstrate at our conference. But again, if you've not done the scones, she has some recent videos that she just posted, that are step-by-step of how to do scones or biscuits. So if you've not, attempted those, you may want to, they look very well done. So you may want to check that out. And certainly you can order her mixes from there as well.
I wanted to add something else, thought with breakfast. One of the most important things I believe is to look at what you have locally. And one of the things that I think is a big hit all the time is whatever the local meat is. I try to stay away from anything commercial grade, and I try to go to my local grocer and whatever they're butchering, that is what I'll try to use. There's so many options around here in Lancaster County, but rather than just a, Oscar Mayer or, Tyson sausage or something like that, I'd rather go with something from a local grocery store, use their sausage or use their smoked peppered bacon that's homemade. Around here, they have a bacon that's called hillbilly bacon, and it captures the area, and I think it lends itself well to whatever you're trying to do. It makes your bed and breakfast that unique experience, that what they're trying to look for. So without saying anything more, I am sorry, everyone. I am back at work. I have to run. I wish you all a successful meeting today. You can always call on me.
Thank you, Carl.
Good luck, Carl.
Carl, give me a call when you get a
There's
chance.
my number, and thank you.
Carl,
Who
I
said
know
that?
you're a busy dude, but when you get a chance, give me a call, will you please?
Sure, I will.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Who else have been doing?
We
Robert.
have Schmidt sausage.
Okay. Lynn, do you want to share with us what you've been doing for breakfast? Anything different? Did you try any?
If you have any plans to go out.
I'm sorry, Rose, you sort of faded out there at the,
I'm gonna
at
say,
the end.
did you try any new recipes during this crazy COVID?
Well, unlike Carl, I think my guest wants something a bit more simple. I would love to be able to cook like him, but I'm always afraid of intimidating someone when, if I put something down in front of them that they're not familiar with. For example, the other day I made this lovely quiche, and I had one guest that wouldn't even touch it. I mean, wouldn't even try it. And so the next day I made her French toast. But that's always a concern of mine. So I try not to do anything too outlandish. Just maybe similar to what they might fix for themselves at home, but a little more special, so that they do feel like they're having something nice. Although I've discovered that with my young moms, you could give them Cheerios in a bowl, and as long as they didn't have to fix it, serve it, or clean it up, they're happy. I order, there's a bunch of us innkeepers that order together here in Lancaster, a bulk meat order. So right now in my freezer, I have 17 pounds of bacon. And that's all local, like Carl was talking about. About 17 pounds of bacon and 12 pounds of turkey sausage and another 12 pounds of regular sausage. So yeah, to get that together is a cost savings. And now with COVID, I've had to go out and get a part-time job. So I'm working, as much as I can here at the inn, but I'm also working part-time at CVS. So my time is really limited. I've got to go there. I just found out at 2:00 this afternoon. So buying in bulk like that and freezing things. When I get a day off, I'll bake a bunch of breads. The other day I made cherry chocolate chip loaf. I made a sweet potato orange bread and a pumpkin spice latte bread. And put them in wrapped them up good and put them in the freezer. I'm not much for scones, but that sounds like a good idea too.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else that would like to share?
Well, I would. Chris from Churchtown Inn.
Hi, Chris.
Hi, everybody. I guess you talked about this, serving each couple their own food, to choose from instead of plating things individually in the kitchen. I'll make casseroles for two, and we have everybody spaced apart so that, I have enough room in my breakfast room. So I'm doing that. So I'm doing a lot of casseroles. And Lynn, to your thing, the casseroles are just eggs, scrambled eggs, cheese and bacon. So it is simple. So that helps. Yeah, and then you don't have to worry. You don't, you know. The other thing I'm doing is I'm running by what I think I'm going to make. And that's what I say. I think I'm making this for you guys. Anybody not like any of those ingredients. So I will run that by people. And you know, does anybody dislike? Does anybody dislike? So I've been doing that. So I'm customizing, you know, pulling things in, putting things out of things. The other thing I'm doing is with Debbie's scones is making them in advance and freezing them, and they will really work well as the breadslin that you're making. I love that pumpkin latte one. That sounds good. Other than that,
I'll send you the recipe.
that'd be great. Yeah, well, Debbie has pumpkin spice latte in her thing, but I make my own curry Asian spices because I'm not finding a second job, although I probably should. I'm cooking international crazy, you know, everything. So I'm doing my own spices here as well. But that's basically what we're doing. We had a full house for Valentine's weekend. It was crazy. We did. And that was a miracle. I had a waiting list. But then I told them, and a lot of them were repeat guests. And I said, you know, there are more people in this house than there have been since like October, you know, at one time. So we're really, you know, struggling out here. Those are a little too far out. Anyway, you know what? Somebody was talking about long-term guests. Remember, Rose, one of the last meetings, who was it that was talking about taking in long-term guests?
With Dee Fagan, that, you know,
Right.
because she too has a part-time job, and, you know, she's been in the innkeeping business for 20 plus years, and, you know, downsized from an 8-room inn to she has 3 rooms. And now to kind of further downsize, she was taking in long-term guests. And
Now,
that,
she had a website for that, though. Can you get that from her for me?
which website is that?
Well, she talked about a long-term guest website.
Okay, I will get that from her, because she had mentioned
Thanks.
a couple of websites, you know, that I guess there's a website for those people that are traveling nurses that are going,
Right.
you know, that are moving around and they're in a location for 6 weeks to, you know, 3 months. So I'll get that for you, Chris, and
Thanks.
send that out.
Thanks.
And again, you know, that business model,
Yes.
that has worked well for her.
Yeah, and I have a couple rooms that I could do that with. I
Mhm.
just, you know, I get walk-in people who want a room, and, you know, I want some kind of some guidelines. We have done that before on certain rooms or 3rd floor rooms. But I had a little man walk in the other day, and he wanted to pay less than $50 a night. And so, you know, I can't do that. I just can't.
Mhm. I'll get you that email.
Thanks.
Anybody else with breakfast? Robert, I see you smiling. You have anything to contribute about your breakfast and how it's been going?
Well, I haven't done a whole lot of different things. I just haven't had that many guests. In fact, I had no guests through the whole month of December. And in January, which I normally close, I basically just had one couple each weekend. That's the way they made reservations. Of course, Valentine's Day, I was at my capacity. Normally I can have up to 24, but I've limited my guests to half. So I only will do 6 couples. And that allows me to have 3 couples at each breakfast, because they're individual tables. So I space them out. They have either an 8:30 or a 9:30 breakfast. The other things that I changed, I took everything off the tables. So there's no salt and pepper, no condiments, no flowers, no candles, nothing on the tables. And the guests they all understand that. Nobody's ever complained and said, oh, gee, it doesn't look the same. And then I use paper mats, and I wrap all my silverware actually in paper napkins as opposed to using.
Wow.
So
That's a good idea.
So I like, that makes it convenient to reset the table, but it just doesn't have the same feeling. Same thing with the common areas. Very rarely do people go to the common areas. They just go straight to their rooms. Because otherwise they'd have to be wearing a mask.
Yeah,
But-
I have people who are not wearing masks.
Say that again.
Well, I have people who are not wearing masks around my house
Well, I have a sign on the door says when they come in, they have to wear the mask, and
all the time.
everybody's been good about it.
Yeah.
I mean, until I get the vaccine, I'm worried for myself. So
Yeah.
I'm not actually trying to market. I mean, I'm not trying to promote myself right now, just because I just don't feel comfortable having guests come in from all over the place. I mean, I have somebody coming in from Georgia. I'm not real happy with that, but I'm trying to figure out how to get the vaccine. Then once I do that, I think I'm okay.
Yeah.
But I've just been trying, as far as recipes, I do scones, but I usually make them from scratch. And guests do like them, but I think the thing they like the most is the chantilly cream that you put on top.
Ooh.
Mm.
But yeah, it's been a challenge, but I'm doing okay right now.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, when you listen to the tourism travel economists, I know B&B Finder did a survey, of not only innkeepers across the country, but also, travelers. And there is pent up demand, but people are still uneasy. They say they're going to travel, but they're not, quite yet making plans, for sure, or booking. And I think hopefully that will change as more of the masses get the vaccine. And, they're saying that looks to be more like June, July, where, the masses will have received the vaccine. So hopefully we'll see things open up and, all of you to be busy come this summer. Anybody else that has something they want to share?
This is Dawn Flower Webb from the Moreland Garden Inn. I missed part of Carl's presentation because I was a little bit tardy today, so I apologize if this is a repeat. But I did look at what he did, and I tried to emulate some of his breakfast for our guests, and they really like it. What I do is I provide them with a brief menu with 3 courses. The first course is what I call the appetizer, and they can choose from what I call a parfait, which makes it sound fancy, which is simply yogurt with some fresh fruit and then our homemade granola. And I also provide everybody a little bowl of this granola that I make that's very, very simple, and it's become the Moreland Garden Inn trademark. And anytime I have an open house or anything, I just make batches and batches of this granola because 1, it's inexpensive, and 2, everybody loves it. So for the first course, they have a choice between the parfait or just a simple fruit plate with the granola on the side. And while they're eating that, I can cook their eggs or their French toast or their quiche or get everything ready for them. And I also almost always, depending if not with pancakes, but if they're having an egg dish, I have a small salad on the side, which makes it very festive and pretty. And I pull some herbs from either the garden or have a windowsill herb garden too. And that just adds a little something special for that. And then the third course, I always call it Dawn's Choice Sweets. And like many of you, I do sometimes do scones, and I do a lot of mini muffins that I freeze batch by batch by batch. And then I can pull 2 or 3 flavors out of the freezer. And then by the time they're ready for their sweets, that's all set. And I throw a couple chocolates in there and it looks really pretty. But that's how I organize our breakfast. And that's been very popular for us. And I get people taking pictures and putting it on Facebook and sending it to their relatives. So it's been really fun to have them ooh and ah over their breakfast, which for the most part is pretty basic. But I would also love some new ideas. And Joe, I would love to know what you add to your scones. If you have some special favorites that you do.
Well, there's, I mean, that's the really cool part about Debbie's product is you can- whatever creativity you can do. But some of my favorites is we had a spice chai mix, and so what I would do would be to add some white chocolate chips. On the regular scone mixes, I would add maybe cranberries. And then also grate up some orange and throw that in too. So there's a grated orange with cranberry scone, and then you can take the orange juice and mix it up with some powdered sugar and make an orange dribble to put over top of that. There was also the oatmeal scones that she had, and you could do a whole lot of stuff with that. So there's just a whole variety, whatever you can come up with for ideas for the mixes to do. And they're pretty versatile.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Candied ginger and pecans,
Ooh.
big favorite. I toast the pecans first before I put them in the scones. And candied ginger, that's a big hit. People behind me. Cherry, cranberry cinnamon goat cheese is a big hit too.
I like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's really good. That Celebrity makes that cheese, and that's really good.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to share what they've been doing or any different recipes you've tried? Tracy, you want to contribute what you've been doing?
Well, we've mostly been closed since October when the rates started to spike, just for our own safety. But we have had a few return guests that have contacted us directly and said, hey, could we stay? So we're fortunate in that 2 of our suites have their own entrance. And so we've kind of run a feature of having contact-free visits. So if people are nervous about, seeing others or whatever. So we offer a breakfast basket in their room that usually will have a quiche or a little mini quiche that we've homemade, or a little small frittata or something like that, that they can, all the rooms have a microwave in them so they can reheat them out of their fridge. And, everything that needs to be refrigerated is in their refrigerator before they arrive. And then the rest of breakfast is in a basket on their coffee table. We'll have, a bottle of orange juices for them and some champagne flutes and some flowers, and make it really special. But, that way we have minimal contact. So that's been a nice thing that we've been able to do.
Thanks, Tracy. And talking, just to kind of intersect while somebody else is thinking about their breakfast, one of the things I'm going to be sending out next is a series of webinars that are educational. Last year, we reached out to our vendors, we call them allied partners, those that have participated in our in-person conferences, and asked them to renew their membership dues with PABI, as well as that if they did, even though we weren't having a conference last year, we would allow them to do an educational webinar here March through April. So I have 10, we have about 7 webinars so far. So probably next week, you'll be getting the whole list of, they're going to be different dates, 1 a day, so that it's and they're going to be recorded. So if you can't make it, you'll be able to view them. But one of them is going to be Cindy Bachman with Innkeepers Advantage, talking about contactless check-ins. And, so I was able to view the presentation because she's actually doing it for ALP, which is the Association of Lodging Professionals, that they're having their virtual conference here at the end of February. So it was very informative. So look for that. I don't have a date scheduled for her yet, but that's going to be coming. And, also just want to remind you to look for those, the list. I'll be sending it out next week to register for those webinars. Anybody else want to talk about breakfast?
Can you hear me?
Hi, Paula. Yes, we can hear you.
Dwayne's not here right now. He's the chef, but what is very popular is a country casserole where he puts everything imaginable in it. Your bread and toast is in there, your eggs, your meat, your vegetables, everything, your cheese, and that goes over very well. And then he does an egg Benedict with liquor. And that, you could just put a straw in and suck it up. But really popular. So he does all the fresh blueberry muffins, and our restaurant theme is to cook from scratch to your order with the food just recently purchased. And we do have Schmidt's sausage across the street. It's a 50-year-old German butcher, and he has excellent bacon and sausage that is much better than grocery store.
Thanks, Paula.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
I want to know what the liquor is in the Eggs Benedict.
I'm thinking it may be sherry. I'll have to double check with him.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
That sounds awesome. Does that go in the hollandaise?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, besides breakfast, is there anything else that you want to talk about? I mean, these meetings, that we keep them pretty informal. That this is your opportunity to ask questions, to network with your fellow innkeepers that are on the meeting here today. So if there's other things that you want to ask or talk about, or ask what Pabby's doing, or like I said, we got the next series of webinars. We are planning to do an in-person conference November 8th to the 10th. It'll be at the Wyndham in State College. Again, I've spoke to the Wyndham, everybody has like the crystal ball as far as when is it going to be safe. They're still under mitigations, all the hotels, that they can only have 10% of capacity. So we're not sure when that's going to be lifted. My guess is it'll be probably sometime May, June, when the masses are vaccinated. So we're going to, we're asking you to, kind of pencil those dates in, but we're going to, as an organization, make that final decision come July. At that point, that's, we'll see what has happened, who's been vaccinated, if the mitigation have been lifted. But like I said, we are planning to do the in-person.
I wanted to ask if you know the name of that maple syrup that was featured at one of the hotel seminars. Anybody remember that? Seems to me.
Was it a vendor that was there at the 2019 conference?
I think so.
Yeah.
And did you think it was standing? I mean, to order that?
I don't know. I will check her website and ask, because I think I know which vendor it was. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I think, she had a lot of local farm products and some soaps and things like that. And I think she's the one that had the homemade maple syrup. So let me check for you, Paula, and I'll get that to you.
There is a website for maple syrup, Pennsylvania maple syrup producers. And there are a lot of people we're in Hershey, they're north of us, up in the Poconos and stuff. We were getting syrup by the gallon. I think it's Shemansky. But if you're anywhere in Pennsylvania, you're apt to find a producer that's close to you. And we get it by the gallon. But they also had it packaged, in a little maple leaf bottles that you could, and it was locally produced. But I don't remember the name of the website because now we just get it from them directly. But we ran into them at the farm show, and they had a stand this was, pre-COVID. But there is a website out there that lists the different producers.
Okay, well, you must like it if you're still ordering it from them. It must
it's very, very good.
Yeah, we get our coffee.
And what he's not that far from us, so he has other customers and they'll drop it off.
Well, we're right here in Middletown.
Like 4 gallons at a time.
Oh my. Okay.
Okay.
But they will do the little smaller packages.
Yeah, if you don't refrigerate it, it does get bad. It gets moldy.
If it's sealed, after it's sealed, after you open it, you have to refrigerate it.
Right.
It's kept for us pretty much. And we've been told, although we haven't had a problem with the mold, that if you boil it, you should be okay. But what we do is, you know, we'll usually have a gallon at a time in the refrigerator, and it's kept fine for us. And the little bottles keep forever. Now I have a local honey producer, and honey even packaged will crystallize over time. So we haven't had as much success with the local honey as we have with the syrup.
Okay. We've been going down to Lidditz to Whiff Roasters and having them roast our coffee, and it is exceptional.
I've heard it's good. They're very good.
Okay, anybody else? It's about 1:15. We can stay on the
Hey,
call
Rose?
or, yeah?
Would you, it's Jim Lanning again.
Hey, Jim.
Would you make sure the list of questions I have get sent to Carl? Because that's going to be the basis of my conversation with him later.
Okay, yes, I will forward to him so he has his number, and then I will reach out to the Visitors Bureau. I'll reach out to Fritz to get in touch with you. Okay,
The only thing I would like to add for the group is the fact that we've been getting folks over the Christmas and Thanksgiving and all of that. They are folks from out of state, and they're taking a little break from the place. As you know, we use PA standards and higher for our cleanliness because we actually have a cleaner that's here that actually does this every single time. Most of the time they will come masked, and if they don't come masked, I do what like Joe said, which is everybody wears a mask when you come. Then the decision is made by the group, because after I greet them, they're on their own. Okay, I mean, because again, the way we have this place secured and the way it's done, we don't have to deal with any of what would be the challenges, because again, self-care is what's going to happen until we all get vaccinated, that we need to be. My group has been really mixed, young to old, and it's usually a group that's here for 2 or 3 days, except for Christmas, Thanksgiving, and other times, which they will stay for the week. So they end up with a weekly rate. And that's what I wanted to share with everybody.
thanks, Jim. Okay, anything else that somebody wants to contribute or ask?
I wondered if it would be possible if anybody has a favorite recipe they would like to share with the group. If we could share a few recipes around just to give us some new ideas. I don't know if anybody else is interested, but I would love to see like the country casserole or the egg benedict. I didn't hear a lot of real specific ones.
Love that. The recipe for that granola would be a nice one to have.
I'd be happy to share that. It's so easy and cheap.
If anybody has a recipe, send it to me at pabby@pains.com, and then I'll make sure it gets out to the group. In fact, I'll probably even put it in the newsletter. So then those that weren't on the call know what they missed.
That's a great idea.
Okay, we'll do that.
Thank you.
So just send them my way then. Okay.
Okay.
I'm not hearing any other questions or comments. I want to thank all of you for joining in today. This was great. A lot of discussion. The next one is scheduled for a couple of weeks. We don't necessarily have a topics, but if you think of anything that, and especially as we start getting closer to more people being vaccinated, certainly, shoot me any ideas or send me, things that you would like to be talking about. One last thing that I do want to mention is that don't forget about the $145 million that was the hospitality recovery program. Right now, that money's going to be rolled out. That's the over $900 million pandemic recovery that the Governor Wolf signed the other week. Right now, DCD is accepting applications from the counties. They have to identify who is going to administer that money. It's either going to be a CDFI or a CDFO. So again, the goal is that they have to, they're going to be getting their money by March 1st, and then they have a certain window to get those applications available, for people within their county. So please keep in track of your county. I'm trying to track to see, what organizations with those counties are going to be the people that you need to work with in order to apply for those funds.
Okay, great.
Is there anybody here? Now that money will go fast. It is only for those entities that, can show that they had a loss due to COVID. And 2, they're given priority to those that did not get a PPP or EIDL loan or any other type of grant funding. And it can only be for those that have an NAICS code of 72, which our bed and breakfasts do. Anybody that, keep in mind too, the second window of PPP money is available. Is there anybody that is, I know many of the bed and breakfasts, it just wasn't worth the effort. You just didn't qualify for that much. But in this round, you get 3 times the amount that you can take, like your losses and do 3 times versus 2, the 2 that everybody else has to do. Anybody considering on the call that's going to apply for the second round, or have you applied for the second round of PPP?
We applied for it, Rose, and we got it.
Okay, good.
It was very easy.
Okay.
Yeah, I applied for the first round, I guess last week, because I didn't apply before. And my banker was Orrstown Bank. They were very easy to work with. And if you work with your bank, I don't know if you have Orrstown in some of the areas, but they seemed anxious to help me get the money. And I wasn't going to get that much. So I know they weren't getting that much, but they spent many hours with me. Well, not many hours, but a lot of time with me over a weekend to help me get through the grant process. So reach out to your banks. They're there for you.
Yeah, and you can reach out to Orrstown Bank. I know PRLA had sponsored, and allowed Orrstown Bank. They did a webinar on, applying for the PPP. Regardless of whether you use Orrstown Bank or not, they will take anybody. And they, like Dawn said, their webinar was fabulous. They had laid it out very simple. You get assigned a manager. I know we've heard from others that, were working with their bank and it was impossible to get a hold of anybody or to talk to anybody. They seemed in their webinar, and I'm glad it sounds like they, lived up to it, Dawn, by you saying that they were in communication with you and working with you to get the money. So I'll probably stick that in the next newsletter. That window is closing of when you can apply for that money. So if you haven't, think about it, you may want to reach out to Orrstown Bank because they seem very, very proactive of trying to get you that money. And they'll work with anybody, regardless of whether you're one of their customers or not. And I understand, I think they are a nationwide bank, so I don't know where all their branches are at, but certainly it seemed like they were. There are several branches here within the Harrisburg area. Okay. Anything else for the good of the order today? Okay. Well, I wish you guys a good rest of the afternoon. For those of us here in South Central, we're supposed to be getting a snowstorm, so get prepared for that. So we're to get 6 to 9 inches. Joe, Jim, I don't know.
Yeah,
What you guys are getting up there, but in State College, but we're getting 6 to 9.
Yeah, we're going to, it's either 1 to 3 or 4 to 7, depending on who you talk to.
Yeah. All righty, everybody. Have a good afternoon. Thank you again for joining us. We'll hopefully see you on the next call.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.